welcome back to the Wellness Paradox podcast. I'm so grateful that you can join us on this journey towards greater human flourishing. As always, I'm your host, Michael Stack, an exercise physiologist by training and a health entrepreneur and a health educator by trade. And I'm fascinated by a phenomena I call the wellness paradox. This paradox, as I view it, is the trust, interaction, and communication gap between fitness professionals and our medical community. This podcast is all about closing off that gap by disseminating the latest, most evidence-based, and most engaging information in the health sciences. And to do that in episode 73, we're joined by David Essel. David is an expert in work-life balance. And this conversation is going to be slightly different in the sense that this is not a conversation aimed at you improving your standard of practice or scope of practice for your clients. This is a conversation around tools that you can use to establish better work-life balance. And I would say in the fitness profession, whether you own your own personal training studio or you work in a big box gym or everywhere in between, we're constantly hustling for clients, and work-life balance is not exactly something that exists all that well for many of us. And this conversation will be around some warning signs, tools, and strategies to infuse some degree of work-life balance into your daily routine. Now, as David will talk about, certain seasons of your life just don't lend themselves well towards tremendous balance, like when you're just starting a job or maybe after you've had a child. But we can't keep running on the highest octane all the time, or we are going to burn out, which, I mean, this is certainly a conversation you hear many people having. So this is a kind of a gift for you as our audience to provide some self-care to yourself, the proverbial put your own oxygen mask on first before you assist others. Any additional information that David or I would like to share from this episode can be found on the show notes page by going to wellnessparadoxpod.com/episode 73. Please enjoy this conversation with David Essel. Today, we're delighted to be joined by David Essel. David, thank you so much for joining us.
Michael, great to be with you, my brother.
Excited for this conversation because it's a conversation around work-life balance. And I feel like as fitness professionals, we often talk about the need for our clients to have work-life balance, but sometimes we struggle to have it ourselves. So I'm really excited to talk about this because this is self-care for the professional that provides self-care. So before we launch into that, why don't you just give us a little bit of an idea of your background to give us some context for the conversation?
Well, you know, fitness and myself go hand in hand, Michael. I actually played basketball Division I at Syracuse University for 2 years. And then, quite honestly, I wasn't good enough to keep up with the new guys coming in. You know, that's just the truth. They were evaluating and they were accelerating so quickly, that I ended up stepping down. But I never lost my love of athletics and sports. And so I went into sports psychology the first 10, 11 years from 1979 to 1990. I was in sports psychology. I actually was working with a lot of people in the fitness industry for motivation. Yep. I was on the cover of AFA, American Fitness Association. IDEA was another one. Yep. I did some Muscle and Fitness magazine covers, Yep. So, it was a great 10 years. And then in 1990, everything changed. Part of it was me personally. I burned out. I just burned out. I was traveling 40 weeks a year, doing the same kind of lectures all the time, and I burned out. And then also a 30-year addiction caught up to me. 30-year addiction of alcohol and cocaine. And in 1990, I had a failed suicide attempt. And that changed everything, Michael. From that day, well, I'll say about a year later, it took about a year to recover. But from that day forward, 1991, I mean, my whole life has been dedicated to mental health. Work-life balance is all mental health, Michael. You know that, and I know in the fitness profession, because I was in it for 10 years very seriously, there's a lot of us that struggle, just like Fortune 500 executives, for God's sake, we don't know how to say no, which is a form of codependency. So, and I remember a year ago working with this awesome personal trainer, and she was burning out. And so I said, let's do this. Friday afternoons from 12 to 5 is simply planning time. It's a time you get to reflect on the week. What did I do well? What do I want to expand? And it got to Friday and she got a call at 2 o'clock for someone that wanted a session and she had to take it.
Yeah.
Michael, she was so addicted to that. Oh my God, what if I don't get another client? I better take advantage of this now.
Yep.
So she dropped her self-care
Mm-hmm.
in exchange for a couple $100.
Yeah.
And it caught up with her. And a month later, she came in and said, oh my God, I didn't follow your advice. I've been working on Friday afternoons now, and I'm back in the same rat race, So my work has gone all over the place. We work with really heavy duty things like incest and rape survival. And then we go to the world of work-life balance, a permanent addiction recovery, relationship help. So we cover everything. And, and I will tell you this half jokingly, all of my failures in the past have led me to understand a lot about what we're going to talk about today because, I'm a classic workaholic.
Yeah.
I have to be very on top of the ball. I'm going into 44 years now of this work. And it's really easy, Michael, to get sucked back in, and you get an idea for a new book. And before you know it, you're starting to write the book while you're overbooked with other stuff. And, we just have to be able to slow down for work-life balance, make really good decisions. But I want to make this one mention before I allow you, since you're the host of the show, to talk. And that is this: everything has to be in writing. Do not think you're going to create work-life balance up here. This is not your friend, and we can get into it more later, but whatever it is that you need to add or subtract, and this is a huge part of work-life balance, phase one in work-life balance is to remove the dependencies, the poor habits, the self-sabotaging eating or drinking or smoking, remove. So step one in work-life balance. It's so funny. People think, oh, I need to add meditation or I need to, go to Reiki more or whatever it is. No. Step one is remove, because if you don't remove the self-sabotaging behaviors, and we all do, procrastination, too much television, too much social media, too much video games, whatever it is, right? When you remove those self-sabotaging behaviors, Michael, you open up the doorway for new opportunities to change your lifestyle and your life.
Absolutely. And I love that. And I appreciate your transparency around, your past and your history, because I think that ends up being very powerful, career motivators for people. And I think a lot of us listening to this right now, I mean, myself included, I've been known to not say no several times over to many things. I think we can relate to the fact that we love what we do and we love helping people, but there becomes a certain point where, as they say, if you don't put your own oxygen mask on first, you're not going to be any help to anyone. So I'm curious, when we talk about this, just to kind of level set the discussion, how do you define work-life balance? Because I read about it and I've never read a consistent definition. So how would you define it? And then, take the next step. How do you apply that definition to fitness professionals?
Okay. So first of all, there's no such thing as pure work-life balance. It's impossible.
Right.
It is impossible to lead a work-life balance life. And the reason I say that is because we cannot control anyone or anything outside of ourselves. Right. So when we think we're going to be balanced and we have 4 sessions on a day instead of 8, and then 2 drop out and we freak out because we're supposed to have at least 4, we're trying to cut back our time. And that's where we have to really look at work-life balance. It's accepting life as it comes to us. Yeah. So as I mentioned, step one is removing, but real work-life balance is that individual that can decide to cut back on hours or whatever. And when they're cut back additionally, maybe even out of their control, is the example I just gave them, they flow with it. Yeah. That's one example of being more balanced in life. Another, which is a huge one, is how is your sleep? Mm-hmm. Sleep is a great indicator of good or poor work-life balance. Mm-hmm. If we have struggle sleeping all the time, of course, first thing we do is we look at lifestyle, right? Yeah. When was the last time you ate sugar, which can interfere with sleep dramatically? Alcohol can interfere with sleep, nicotine, caffeine, lots of stuff. Blue lights from your TV, your iPad, your iPhone, et cetera, can interfere with sleep. So let's say that you eat a clean diet, you're not on the phone scrolling. As a matter of fact, the American Psychological Association last week came out with a study, blew my mind, Michael. Not surprising, but it's sad. 70% of Americans 15 years of age or older scroll a minimal of 2 hours every night in bed.
Wow.
Now think about that in bed. So automatically the circadian rhythm is blown out. The blue light destroys your circadian rhythm. It makes you feel like it's time to be awake. It makes your brain feel like it's daytime.
Yeah.
So we've got to really look at, what am I doing sleep wise? And if it's really off, then we know the work-life balance is completely off. Over the last couple of years with the pandemic, we've seen a massive increase of alcohol consumption, huge increase of alcohol addiction, huge increase in food addiction. About 5 years ago, between 75 and 78% of Americans were overweight. I saw a survey recently, it's up to 86%, almost a 10% increase in 2 years. So these would all be examples of people out of balance, sleep disruption, too much food, too much drink, too much video games, too much social media. So we can first look at, okay, work-life balance. It's impossible to have it all balanced.
Right.
But it is possible to see if I'm getting out of balance by looking at our lifestyle. I remember a number of years ago, and I'm drawing a blank on her name right now. She was one of the founders of the feminist movement, and she was the editor-in-chief of Mademoiselle. And gosh, I can't remember her name. But anyway, I went to a lecture she gave, and it was unbelievable. And it was about work balance and life balance. This is probably 20 years ago. Gloria Steinem. Gloria Steinem is who I'm thinking of. So, a massive audience. She's a great speaker. People were like freaking out. She was so clever and fun. And at the end, there was a microphone with questions. And so people were coming up asking questions. Then this one woman came up and you could tell she was really dejected. And she said, Gloria, I've been here listening to this whole thing. And, is it really possible to have it all? Is it really possible to live a balanced life? And then she went and sat down. Well, the audience was on the edge of their chair, Michael. We want to know the answer. So she leans towards the microphone and she just says, yes, and then backs off. Well, you could see all the type A people freaking out. Yes, I can have it all and I can do it all. And then she leans back and she says, yes, you can have it all, but it will never be at the same time. And I love that, Michael. That's work-life balance, because when you start out as a personal trainer or a gym owner or any other field in the fitness profession, you're going to be working a lot of freaking hours if you want to be good. There's no balance in the beginning of a career. Okay, let's throw that out the window. Don't even attempt. I'm not saying go crazy and work 20 hours a day, but I'm saying don't be afraid to work. And when you start to hit that work-life exhaustion, that burnout, grab a professional. Grab someone early and say, hey, what are the signs of burnout so I can be prepared? And what are some of the remedies? What should I do if burnout happens? But in the beginning of our careers, we have to realize that there isn't going to be balance. When you have a child, you're not going to be in balance. Okay. So don't even think about that. When you move to another city, you're not going to be in balance. So there's a lot of life experiences, Michael, that are going to throw us way out of balance. And if we understand that that's what's next when I make this move, it'll be a lot easier to move through it than thinking, oh my God, I've got this new gym I just opened up and I need to be balanced. No, you don't. This is not a time for balance. This is a time to grind, to put the work in. And then if you're working smart and you've got great mentors, you can learn down the road how to be a successful entrepreneur or a successful worker for a company and still have some semblance of balance. And when I talk about a semblance of balance, the way that I guide people through it is that every week there should be a hobby that you cannot wait to get involved with. For me, it's tennis. My schedule's pretty darn busy, but every Saturday morning, I never miss my lesson at 10:30, right? Like that's one of the ways I get balanced. At about 2:00 every day, I go to the gym. This is work-life balance. I come back because we usually don't end till 7 or 8. So I've got all this. As a matter of fact, I just came back, Michael. I've got tons of energy, right? And so this is a way I add work-life balance. And the last one I'm going to tell you is one that a lot of people struggle with. We recommend to our clients that the first 60 minutes of every day is electronic free. No iPad, no cell phone, no television, no radio, no social media, nothing. If you want to read, have a book. Now, I know a lot of people don't know what books are. They look like this. They're kind of like they got paper in them and stuff. Okay. So
I didn't, they still make those? I didn't know.
Yeah, believe it or not, Michael, they do, So we say get away from electronics and hold a book, for gosh sake. Journal with gratitude. Journal your pain. if you're into if you're into religion or spirituality and there's a book, a Bible, or whatever it might be that, you really get a lot of juice out of, the first hour with no electronics sets the tone for the day. And, people say things like, well, I've got to be informed. Look out the window for your weather.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. You don't need a lot of information. If something horrendous is going to happen, a neighbor, a friend, a coworker, someone will tell you. You don't have to be tuned in to electronics.
Yeah. You mentioned burnout, and I think, work-life balance and burnout, on some level kind of discussed as two sides of the same coin. You mentioned all of these, kind of maladaptive or destructive behaviors that we undertake, overeating, not sleeping enough, drinking nicotine, all those. How does that differ from some of the signs or symptoms of indication of burnout? Are they the same? Are they different? Is burnout more psychological? How would you help us make that distinction?
Yeah, no, they're one and the same. Workaholism and burnout are one and the same. It's the same similar traits. When we talk about burnout, that's at the end of workaholism.
Okay. Okay.
Burnout is the very last stage of workaholism. So you have multiple signs, right, that are coming up. And then all of a sudden you're sleeping 3 hours a night. You were sleeping 5 and you were sleeping 7, but now we're at burnout. Okay. Now we're at burnout. When the dependency for sugar at night or alcohol at night turns into an addiction, and I'll define the difference in a second, you're at burnout.
Right.
You have now exceeded the capability of your mind, body, spirit to handle the work. And so you're looking for ways to escape the reality of your burnout. So we self-medicate, just like I self-medicated anxiety, depression, and ADD with alcohol and cocaine. Well, people self-medicate with sugar and all this other crap at night, right? So we want to look at that. And let me make a quick differentiation between addiction and dependency. So I am extremely dependent on the gym. I used to be addicted to the gym. So what's the difference? So I used to train an hour and a half a day, 6 days a week, and I had all these goals in mind for my body, et cetera, et cetera. If I missed a day, I would not let me miss a day. I never missed a day. I would, whatever I had to do, right? If I had to climb a mountain, I climbed a mountain, if that's what I had to do. Now, as I'm aging, I'm understanding that I can work smarter, not harder. So now I'm in the gym 30 minutes a day. I do 10 minutes of weight training. I do 20 minutes of cardio, reading a spiritual book usually, right? And I'm done. Now, if I miss a day, I missed 3 days last week. Did it bother me? Yeah. Did I freak out? No. I honestly said, oh man, I wish I could get to the gym today, but I can't. That's the difference between dependency and addiction. Dependency is I depend on it for my mental health, physical health, social health, right? I depend on it. It's a great tool, but I'm not addicted. I don't beat myself up if I miss the gym. I don't go in the next day and punish myself with 30 extra repetitions or whatever. I just accept the fact that this is part of life. X, Y, and Z happened. I can't get to the gym. I can't get to the gym. That's what we're trying to teach people. We have an executive entrepreneur work-life balance program, Michael, and my goal is what I just said. It's called emotional regulation, for people to learn how to move forward in life, to be productive, but not burned out, to be productive, but not workaholics. And for a lot of us who have had that workaholic mentality that's stuck in the subconscious mind, which I can explain in a second, it is just as hard as dropping a workout program as it is heroin.
Yeah.
It's just as hard dropping sugar as night as it is heroin. And I'm not blowing that out of proportion. Because I come from the world of addiction and I'm an addiction counselor amongst many things, we see this every day, people becoming so obsessed. And we want to look at that obsession. And if it's work related because you're just starting a business, fine. But anything other than that, we really want to try to get a hold of. And most of the time, in order to do that, Michael, we need accountability partners, whether therapists, counselors, coaches, whatever it might be. But to shatter something that we have had in our system for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, the odds of us doing it by ourselves are pretty small.
Yeah. And I was thinking, as you were saying, that in America, we're almost enculturated to work more. And the more you work, the more, prized you are by our society, particularly, I would say, men, more so than women. It's kind of tied with their gender identity to a degree. So, I'm curious, you mentioned that, and I don't disagree, but I also don't understand the mechanisms of, sugar dependency versus or addiction versus, heroin. That seems like quite a jump, but I know enough about neurophysiology to know that that can be connected. So talk more about that, just maybe on
Yeah.
a high level mechanistic perspective.
Sure. Well, they both hit the same pleasure center of the brain. They're both dopamine releasers, right?
Yep.
So they're both really feel good chemicals, and when they hit those dopamine receptors in the brain, we feel relaxed, both with heroin and sugar.
Yep.
Now, with children, a lot of children, the way the brain reacts is hyperactivity, but it flips as adults. And what happens as adults, it works as a relaxant and a numbing. It numbs our now you wonder why the people who are overweight love sugar and snacks at night. It numbs their ability to feel. So they don't have to feel embarrassed about being overweight. They don't have to feel guilty about being overweight. They don't have to feel uncomfortable that they're on 17 medications for cholesterol, high blood pressure, high triglycerides, because they're numbing the emotion with sugar. Sugar is a drug, Michael. It's one of the most powerful drugs out there. Really quickly, I'll tell you the four henchmen of food that are all drugs: sugar, salt, white flour, fat. Every convenience food, every fast food joint, everything has those four ingredients, right? So here's a cute story. A number of years ago, I taught a weight loss program, and I had these four women call me and say, we want a private class. We want the four of us. So we picked Friday night at 6 o'clock, because Friday night at 6 o'clock, they would all get together, go to a restaurant and eat dessert. That's what they did on Friday. That was their celebration. So instead of going out and drinking, they go to a restaurant, order 4 different desserts, and eat, switch and share, and then get another 4 in that. So they said, hey, we're choosing this time because this is our bad time. This is when we're bad women, right? So we're laughing and having a blast, and we're doing a 2-hour Friday night, 6 to 8. At 7 o'clock, I go, we have a 10-minute break. And one woman said, can we have snacks? And I said, well, if you need them, I guess, most of us can get by 2 hours without eating, but we have to remember where they're coming from, right? So they all had snacks. They were all ready with their snacks. So we go back into the session, and there's this one woman with this bag of cheese curls. I forget what they're called, but it has that tiger on it,
Yeah.
And she's got her finger, Michael, in the bottom of the bag, pushing, licking her finger. She's going after the salt and sugar.
Yeah.
Salt has the same effect on the pleasure center of the brain that sugar does. It numbs emotions.
Yeah.
So at night, when we don't want to feel, we have sugar, we have alcohol, we have salt, we have snack foods, because it all numbs emotions. So the brain is highly susceptible to drug interactions, and food are drug. Now, I have never seen someone with a weight problem that while they're watching TV at night eats grilled chicken and steamed vegetables.
Right.
I've never seen someone overeating so many grilled chickens and vegetables that they gain weight. But 85% of our country is overweight or obese. It's not grilled chicken and broccoli that's the problem. It's these drugs that are called food that people get highly addicted to, Michael.
I'd like to take a quick break from today's episode to tell you a little something about one of our sponsors. As all of you are well aware, addressing the wellness paradox is a lifelong passion project for me. And when you're going to go on a long journey, it's difficult to go it alone. You need to find like-minded individuals that are willing to go on that crusade with you. And that's exactly what I found at the MRF Institute. The team over at the MRF Institute creates educational content for fitness and wellness professionals who are serious about becoming a part of our healthcare continuum. Getting on the healthcare continuum is all about leveling up our skills to be looked at as that valued resource provider. The wellness paradox is certainly an avenue for you to do that, but we need many different levers to pull if we're going to get there. And the MRF Institute is definitely one of those levers. You can go to their website, mrfinstitute.org, to find all kinds of great, informative, free informational content. And if you choose to engage with any of their paid content, they've created a coupon code specifically for Wellness Paradox listeners. You can enter in WP 2022, that's WP, and then the number 2022 to the website at checkout to receive a 15% discount on your purchase. I highly recommend you go check out mrfinstitute.org. Now back to today's episode. Yes, absolutely. And there's a lot of fascinating research on that. And it would be a neat separate conversation, but I'm gonna now that I asked the question and kind of opened up that rabbit hole, I'm gonna pull us back and come back to I'm sitting here, I'm a fitness professional, and I'm out of that phase early in my career where I'm really have to grind hard to get my business off the ground, whatever that looked like. And now I'm starting to realize, okay, I could be pulling back on it, but I'm not. And maybe I feel like I am starting to, lose the work-life balance that I need, or maybe I'm moving towards burnout. What is the first step you recommend somebody takes when they get that inclination that maybe they're headed in that direction?
Could we have a scarcity mindset? Could we have enough, but we're afraid that we might not get more, so we start to push again? That's very common, Michael. The scarcity mindset amongst entrepreneurs is all over the place. For God's sake, we are responsible for our income. Yeah. We're responsible for getting clients, right? So it's easy to go into that scarcity mindset. Just like I said earlier about the personal trainer who was afraid to not take the Friday 2 p.m. Right. That's a scarcity mindset. Yeah. So she went back into workaholism because she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to make up that one client. Right. So, we start to look for those kind of signs, am I doing okay? But I feel like I need to do more. That anxiety switch is a huge sign of upcoming burnout or current workaholism. I'm in a mastermind group of all these entrepreneurs, and the leader of the group sent me a text the other day. We have our next mastermind group is tomorrow. And he sent me a text and he said, hey, I'm interested what your goal is for the next 365 days. Like, what are you shooting for? What are you aiming for? And my answer surprised the heck out of him, but it was something I had just contemplated 2 days before. My big goal in the next 365 days is contentment. That's what I'm shooting for, Michael. So we have cut back my workload. We're taking on less and less clients. Because we're taking on less clients, we're going to offer them a higher level of service. So in the past, what would happen is that I would have a client, let's say Monday at 11, we get done with the session. I'd say, here's your homework. I'll see you next Monday at 11. Now what we've done, because we've cut back dramatically the number of people we work with, I now allow my clients to text me Monday through Friday. So they have me 1 hour on a Monday. But then they have the whole rest of the week. If something comes up they don't understand, or if they're stuck, now I can offer a higher level of accountability. So my contentment is interesting. Are we going to see a drop off in income? Potentially. Are we going to see greater customer service? Absolutely. Yeah. And more importantly, believe it or not, is it going to positively affect my life? And the answer is, oh my God, yes, because what I mentioned earlier, I'm one of those people that can easily fall into workaholism. So to set the goal of contentment, then, we have to go next. What does that mean? How many clients per day? When are you going to cut it off? What are you going to do when you have people on the waiting list? Then we have to go through all those type of questions. Right. And then also, do you need to create a secondary funnel of income? Do you need to create another area of income where it will not take your observation, your time, and your energy? So all these kind of questions come up. I mean, contentment sounds like this beautiful thing, and it is, right? But just like any other goal, it's got to have a solid plan, a daily plan. So we encourage people, especially if you've been in your profession for over 10 years, to really look at the work-life balance, to understand you're never going to get it perfect. But is it time to focus on contentment? Is it time to focus on your physical health, your spiritual health, your relationships? And every year we should be evaluating, like, where am I and what do I need to work on? I don't believe in 5 and 10 year plans. I really don't. I keep it short and simple. What's my goal for the next year? Then how do I break it down daily to make it happen so that I have some sort of balance going on?
Yeah, I love the goal of contentment. And I could see how that could surprise someone who runs a mastermind group, because those groups seem to be decidedly not about that. But I feel like in order for you to actually set that as a goal, and I'm going to lead somewhere with this. It seems like that there has to be a higher level of awareness or self-awareness to exist to even realize that. I just maybe touch on that for a second. The reason I bring up self-awareness is, I'm in my early 40s and I've been in the fitness industry now for, 23 years. And I teach and I lead, primarily early 20 somethings. And, at that point in life, your self-awareness isn't incredibly evolved just because you haven't been in the professional space all that long. Talk a little bit about the need for, self-awareness and reflection to even realize you're getting to the point where there's becoming a problem.
Michael, it's such a beautiful question, and it's a question no one ever asks. So thank you for going deeper.
Welcome.
That's the first hour of every day, Michael.
Yeah.
That's how you get to know yourself.
Yeah.
That, there's no distractions, there's no electronics, there's no media. It's just you and a pen and paper, maybe you and God or your higher power, you and whatever you believe in, right? But that's where you get to. So, it's such a beautiful question. I find this to be almost just like a miracle, the way this happened. On Monday, I'm doing my early morning stuff. I do it outdoors. It can go anywhere from 1 to 2 hours, depending on what's going on that day. And at the end of the hour, I sat there just staring out in my backyard, and I got this sense of contentment. And I actually said out loud, this is, because I'm a very hard driving person, which is why I need to cut back. And I said, wow, I'm really feeling content right now.
Yeah.
Like, this is really incredible. My mom and dad died a year ago. My mom a year and a half ago, my dad 8 months ago. And if I think of my dad, I think of content. He was an accountant, very low key, very quiet, was always there to laugh with your jokes. But he wasn't really a leader or someone that's going to tell jokes. But he was so gosh darn content. Even when my mom died of dementia, and if anyone has ever seen it, it's the worst disease next to Lou Gehrig's disease I've ever seen, Michael. It was horrendous. And she was in hospice for 2 years. My dad was in hospice for 2 years. Watching his wife of 71 years, they were married for 71 years, watching her suffer at the level she suffered for 2 years, and seeing his compassion, his contentment, his love, was absolutely mind-blowing. I'm getting chills. He was so powerful in his grace, Michael. He was so powerful in his faith. He was so powerful in his quietness. He was so content. He believed so deeply that my mom and he were going to be together again. Yeah, he had some tears, and he definitely missed her a ton. But it wasn't until exactly 1 year later, which you hear all the time, like sometimes you hear of people dying of a broken heart 30 days later, right? After 71 years, to be without your partner has to be mind-blowing. And, as he went on through that year, as he got closer to the anniversary of my mom's death, he started talking to the nurses, and he started saying, Pat is with me right now. And these nurses were sharing stories. They'd be up all night with him. And my dad would be talking to my mom. And they'd be sitting next to my dad listening to these stories, So I think, as I just talked to you about contentment, as I think a huge part of work-life balance, it's something that was in my life my whole time, but I didn't notice it for the last 2 years of his life. I never noticed how content he was. So, and the other thing I want to mention that brought me to contentment, we drove to be with my dad the last couple hours of his life. And he had requested that his 3 children be at his bedside when he died. And I blew it. I drove from Florida to New York. I missed him by a couple hours, and I was so filled with regret and self-frustration. And then, the most magical thing happened. I got a chance, because we just missed him by a couple hours, to be with my dad for 2.5 hours alone after he had passed. Michael, I was on the table with him. I was screaming and crying, how sad I was, how sorry I was that I missed him. 2.5 hours of raging about, him. And then it switched to this unbelievable love and this unbelievable respect. And then I said to my dad this: you have been one of my greatest teachers that I never knew you were one of my greatest teachers.
Mm.
I'm seeing this all now. And I'm going to commit the rest of my life to your legacy, to living your legacy of greater faith, greater compassion, greater understanding, and contentment.
Mm. Mm.
And, you know, that experience last January, just 9 months ago or whatever it was, you know, it really changed me, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
And it brought me to this place that we're having a conversation today that 10 years ago, we would not be having this type of conversation. 10 years ago, I may have been talking about totally different things. But, you know, wisdom comes with age and failure. That's what we all know, you know, and I've had a lot of failure. And so with this now, I'm starting to see some of the crucial things in life that maybe I wouldn't have even paid attention to if someone told me when I was 40 or 30 or 20. You know, respecting our elders, not that I'm asking anyone to respect me because I'm older, but, you know, respecting and learning from people that have gone through it are the greatest teachers in the world. We're not talking book smart. We're talking reality smart. And that's where I want you to go. So here's something for you, for everyone with us. Find a mentor who exudes contentment. Find a mentor who's not grinding all the time. You can find mentors that'll grind 7 days a week for 70 years. I'm not looking for that. And I'm not asking you to find that. Find a mentor with wisdom. Find a mentor that can help you accomplish your goals with really strong effort in less time.
Yeah.
We can put a lot of effort in the right angle with the right topic at the right time and move mountains. Or we can just be that on that hamster wheel, being busy, that leads to workaholism. You know, a concerted effort to a concerted goal with a specific amount of time that you don't exceed is called wisdom, and you will find success. I wrote books for 20 years and never got any acknowledgement at all, Michael. We sold very few books for 20 years. The 21st year that I wrote, we got our first #1 bestseller, and the last 5 books have all gone #1. I was always content with my books, even when they didn't sell. I was proud of them. I knew I'm born to be a writer. And that kind of wisdom, if you own a business, you're an entrepreneur, you're a type A individual, listen to what I'm saying. Have a goal, but do not be attached to it emotionally. Have a goal, but don't be so attached that your emotional ups and downs are constant, because this week you made great money and the next 2 weeks you made shitty money. Well, so what? So what? Let that go. Let's get back to following what works, but not being attached that it has to be the same every week or every year. You have to make more money. Listen, I fell to that trap. It's a trap. You know, learn to control your expenses and your work-life balance will automatically start to shift.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Incredible, Michael. Do you agree?
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. And a lot of wisdom in that. David, this has been great. I feel like I could go in 16 different directions, but I always try to be respectful of our audience's time and our guest time. So you're obviously doing a lot of tremendous things and have a lot of expertise in this area. Where can people go if they want to find out more about all the great work you're doing?
Yeah, it's really easy, Michael. TalkDavid.com. I mean, the word says it all. All I do is freaking talk. TalkDavid.com. If you go there, we actually have a program, work-life balance. So you can see it right on the website. You can read about it, you know, and that would be the best thing to do. Just go to TalkDavid.com, preview it. And as a matter of fact, during the month of September, and I know the show will be at the end of September, we have a special that runs through September 31st, where when you purchase 8 sessions, you get 8 sessions free. Awesome. Now, I want to mention something. This is the first time in 43 years we've ever done it, and we're doing it because of inflation. We've seen a lot of people struggling. You know, we've seen a lot of people that want help, but they're not in a position financially. So we decided, let's do it. You know, Labor Day month, that makes sense. Yes. We want people to be less workaholics, more effective in the workplace, more effective with your lovers, your families, more effective with your hobbies. And it will come from attempting work-life balance. Last point, really quickly, remove first. Remember this. Remove those habits, thoughts, beliefs that don't serve you well, that sabotage your success. That's going to be a massive move automatically into work-life balance.
Yes. Addition by subtraction, as they say.
That's right, Michael.
So before we go, I'm very curious to ask this question of you, and I particularly enjoy asking my final question to people who aren't in the fitness field because I think it provides an interesting perspective. And it's the thesis of our podcast, which is the wellness paradox is this disconnect that exists between fitness professionals and the broader medical community. For you, someone who is, kind of almost has your foot in both worlds a little bit, the fitness world and the medical world, if you could give the fitness professionals that are listening to this one piece of advice to close off that gap, could be completely unrelated to our conversation today as well, what would that piece of advice be?
I would go and find medical professionals and create relationships. I would go and say, hey, doc, listen, I just want to introduce myself. I have this gym. I'm a personal trainer. I teach these classes. And I would love to explain to you what we do. And if there's any of your clients that could benefit, 85%, by the way, if there's any of your clients that could benefit from being involved, could we talk about it? Do you have any questions about what a boot camp is? Do you have any questions about what HIIT training is? Is there something that I can answer for you? Do you have questions about what would be the best for people that are obese versus people that are overweight? Create relationships, ask their opinion, get them on your side. Michael, my personal physician has referred me several clients over the years simply because he believes in my work and we talk about this work. Now, let's also remember this, and I'm going to basically talk about doctors right now. In the medical professional, become a doctor, you have like 2 hours of training on nutrition and an hour and a half on fitness. Okay, I'm serious. It's so little, it's so minimal. And I don't mean to put any doctors down by saying this, but most fitness professionals have 1,000% more information and knowledge about nutrition and exercise than doctors do. Okay, and that's not putting doctors down. They have a focus, they have an expertise, just like a fitness professional can't perform brain surgery, right? So we stay in our lane. But we've got to create dialogue. Yeah. When I'm working with clients that are on antidepressants and we know that the antidepressant time is gone, they're not underneath the stress, it's time to get off them, I will talk to doctors and say, hey, can we titrate down Mary Smith? Yeah. She's on X amount of Paxil. Can we bring her to this? And can you take her through that? I'm not gonna, you're the expert. Right. And then when we're done titrating her down, I'd love to put her on this amino acid called DLPA, D-L-phenylalanine. It's a mood booster. It actually, between you and I, Michael, I don't say this to doctors, but it actually does what antidepressants don't do. Antidepressants numb emotions completely, so you don't feel the depression. You think you're getting better, but nothing's happening. DLPA actually boosts your mood. Yeah. So when you're going through a hard time, you want something to boost your mood. You don't want to be numb. I just worked with I still work with professional athletes. I have a major league pitcher that I worked with. Last year, he had the worst year of his life. They had put him on antidepressants. He came to me and just said, David, I don't know what's going on. My relationship with my wife is horrendous. We're not intimate. We barely talk. When I'm on the mound, I've lost my fire. And he's going to, and I go, what are you taking? And he told me, and I go, oh my Lord, why did you start? And he told me, so the reason he started a year or a year and a half ago was valid, but he only needed to be on it for 3 months, Mike. Yeah. And that 3-month period of time passed, but a doctor just keeps him on it. So he and I are talking. His agent gets involved. And I say, listen, I think the best thing to do would be to talk to the doctor about getting off the antidepressant. Within 4 days, the doctor agreed. Within 7 days, he had his fire back on the mound. And within 3 weeks, him and his wife were making love. Okay, so this is the correlation. I want to work with doctors. I want fitness professionals to work with. We need that village, right? We need that philosophy of, hey, doc, you're excellent at what you do. I'm excellent at what I do. Can we marry? Yes. If I know someone that needs your services, I'll refer you. Can you refer? And so it's that kind of relationship. And Michael, if we can do this, we're going to destroy this that goes on. We'll just destroy it and we'll create this team. And the team is the way to go. So I hope all professionals listening today will think about, well, who's my doctor? Who's my dentist? Do I have a therapist? Do I have a psychiatrist? Does my child have, who in our family? I need to go and talk to them in person, not on the phone, not via Zoom, unless they make you because they don't have time, but try to get in front of them. And remember this, people love talking about themselves. So the very first meeting should be all about the doctor. How'd you get started, doc? Why did you choose this profession of primary care versus something else? What are your favorite patients to work with? I want to sort of get to know you. And then we go into, listen, one of the reasons I'm here is because so many people have changed their lives through the fitness programs we teach. We have a woman that lost 150 pounds, another one that lost 75. We've got people. If you ever have any of your clients, would you be interested in referring them? Remember, you have to ask for the sale. Yes. You've got to ask for the sale. So even though this was a little different, right, from the work-life thing, I think it's a beautiful question, Michael, because everyone wins. The doctor now can refer someone out. He doesn't have the time to talk about fitness, nutrition, nor probably the education, right? He can refer them out to someone who has a great reputation right in his community.
Absolutely. Relationships. You said it.
Yeah.
David Essel, thank you so much for your insight, your wisdom, and your energy. This has been an absolutely great conversation. Thank you for joining us.
Michael, I had a ball, and any other time I can help you, I'm here.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with David as much as I did. If you found it insightful and informative, please share with your friends and colleagues. Those shares really do make a difference for us. Any additional information we'd like to share with you from today's episode can be found on the show notes page by going to wellnessparadoxpod.com/episode 73. Please be on the lookout for next week's episode when it drops on Wednesday. And don't forget to subscribe through your favorite podcast platform. Until we chat again next week, please be well.